And joining me now via Skype from Oyo State is an African Affairs Analyst, Mosigbodi Amuda. Good to have you join us, Amuda.
Thank you, Precious, for having me.
So many analysts have said that this election is a true test for Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. You recall that he has led a revolt in his own country, which has seen the death of several people. So what really is at stake here?
Well, I think for the Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, a lot is at stake. Don't forget that Ethiopia has always had this long history of repression and oppression and poverty as well. And so this is like bringing about a paradigm shift from the old order. Now, if this election goes free and fair, as Ahmed promised, then it will be writing his name in gold. Now, don't forget that he had already won the Nobel Peace Prize, and now being able to conduct a free and fair election in a country that's always been smeared in, elections that have always remained controversial, then Ahmed will be setting, an unprecedented record in the state, in the country. So there is a lot at stake for him. For the opposition now, don't also forget that some members of some opposition parties are pulled out already from the election on the ground that they feel that there has been some form of violence against opposition party members and their leaders, and of course the whole electoral platform has not been fair to them. But be that as it may, the opposition party also is trying to send a strong message that of course this is not an election that will be a walk in the park for Ahmed.
Like you rightly noted, he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019, but just after that was seen what's going on in the Tigray region. Even his own region, the Oromo region, is also not supporting him. So if he gets the mandate, what will that mean? Are we going to see that level of support and goodwill he has enjoyed in Ethiopia, as well as the international stage?
Well, I think for the international stage, Ahmed's support may not necessarily win if that election is free and fair, and if eventually clinches that majority seat in the parliament. But in Ethiopia, those who support Ahmed see him as the unifying factor. Don't forget that Ethiopia is, divided across different ethnic lines. The Oromo tribe, which he belongs to, as the largest. And of course the Amara, and of course Tigray and others who had less than 10% of who had each had less than 10% of the population. So this election for them is a major one. Now this Ahmed is trying to pass a message that it is no longer the old order where Ethiopia was divided along different ethnic lines, but now there is a new order, and the new order is everyone is Ethiopian, and is even first Ethiopian before the different tribal sentiments and everything. So for Ahmed, he may possibly clinch it for those who are seeking to see an Ethiopia that is unified. Now, don't also forget the historical place of Ethiopia in African history and even in ancient African history. So for them, it is like bringing back the old glory, restoring the the Asian landmarks that Ethiopia has always represented.
Is it though? Because we see several calls for autonomy. Even in the Oromo region, they're calling for autonomy. Tigray region is calling for autonomy. There is tension with several calls for secession, and there is also tension arising from insecurity in that country. So the question really is how, if he gets this mandate, because he's been touted, by several analysts like yourself to say that he might just get it. So assuming we go by that prediction that he might get it, if he gets it, how does he begin to rebuild confidence and just that power balance that people are aching for in Ethiopia?
If you look at the situation in Ethiopia, there are a lot of things that are involved. For one, there's been this age-long disconnection of the people with what happens at the center. And I think what Ahmed needs to start with, if and when he gets, if he eventually clinches a majority seat, is to ensure that what I would call a true unification of Ethiopia. Now, those regions like Tigray and others who are seen as a minority need to have a sense of, a sense of belonging. Now, why are the Oromo, for instance, demanding of autonomy? Because for them, they feel that, oh, we are given the best, and of course, the level of poverty in the region is not changing. Now, the underlying denominator here across the different ethnic groups has been poverty. The argument has been that the continued existence of Ethiopia as a state is what explains the level of poverty in each of the regions. And of course, no region wants to be poor. So they feel that there's this sentiment that if we pull out of Ethiopia as a whole and then have our own, respective region along different ethnic lines, then poverty will leave. So he has a major role to play here by ensuring that there is a serious fight against poverty, fight against famine, which have become more like, things that define Ethiopia at the moment.
All right, so let's look at the fact that the EU has just said it is not going to send observers for this election, and then Prime Minister Abiy retorted and said that observers do not certify elections. He really doesn't care whether people are sending observers or not. But it also shows you that there is some level of distrust from the West towards Abiy Ahmed now, especially because of the situation in the Tigray region. So really, do you see him being able to return Ethiopia to the path of peace and progress?
Well, you see, it's more like a Frankensteinian thing. Abiy created the monster. He created the monster which is facing at the moment, and of course, he also has a magic wand to ensure that that monster which he has created is nipped in the bud. Now, many have said that the whole crisis in the Tigray region is needless, and this is where Ethiopia as a country has found itself. So Abiy has a major role. He needs to engage in confidence building as a whole, and restore confidence in the Tigray region. Ensure, and I think it's not a bad thing, for one, to bring all the warring parties to a round table to have a discussion. And again, we cannot also deny the fact that he seems to be losing face with the West. Now, that is not also to mean that the place of the EU will anyway, give credibility to the election, no doubt. But then we cannot also overplay, their place. But a major thing is he is elected for Ethiopians, and Ethiopians need to feel, the wand which they believe he wields. And so the major thing here is he needs to ensure security, he needs to fight against poverty, and he needs to also ensure that he nips in the bud the ethnic division within the country. That will go a long way.
But doesn't he also need to ensure that this election is free and fair, especially because there are already allegations of inflation of the voters register?
Well, that's a no-brainer. Yeah, Abiy himself had said that there is a need for him, there's a need for the elections to be free and fair. In a lot of the remarks he has made, he has said that, elections, this particular election has to be free and fair. And we've seen also that the chairman of the Electoral Commission has also come out to say that the election must be free and fair. So these are some of the things, that we cannot deny. So Abiy is obviously trying his place to ensure that the elections is free and fair. At least he has made statements in that regard, and he should make commitments. That's the important thing, because it's one thing to make statements, it's another thing to make commitments to that effect.
All right, we'll see how that plays out in Ethiopia. Election results should be out after election in the next 10 days. We'll see who wins that election. Amuda Mosigbodi, thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much.